I think the first thing is men generally don't like to be vulnerable.
Yeah, because sometimes vulnerability is also mistaken for weakness.
And also because of the role that we assume as leaders and protectors of the family, by nature, you will find that if a man is vulnerable, that's a threat like to the family.
Yes.
Yeah, right? For you, whatever happens, you make sure that you go to church.
Yeah.
For me, what I usually do is whatever country I go to, whether I'm in the States, I'm in the UK, if it falls on a Sunday, I'm looking for the nearest Bible-believing church.
Yeah.
And I go and I get that fellowship and I get that because it's non-negotiable. Special guest
when the special guest comes, then another plate is being put out just for one moment. It might be just one, must just be
once a year.
Once a year,
right?
But if that special plate doesn't realize that it's for a special purpose, it might bring itself down
to the plastic,
to the level of the plastic,
right? Because it wants to be seen every day.
It wants to be seen every day, and then it breaks.
That's quite deep.
And we have people that are breaking.
That's very profound.
Before they start.
That's very.
Your light has come. Today is your day to soar. Prepare your heart and raise your voice. What are you waiting for? The old has gone, the new has come. Yes, we are born anew. The love and wealth he had restored cleanses the soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your favorite podcast, the Love, Life, and God podcast. And we bring you yet another exciting episode. And I hope that you are enjoying the podcast. And I'm grateful that we are receiving a lot of feedback from you all around what we can do to improve or who you want us to invite, and we are committed to go through the process so that we bring you the best show. And I also want to encourage you to subscribe. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so that when we post, it alerts you. So we discovered that probably only 30% of our viewers are subscribers. So I want you to subscribe, and I want to promise you that we will do anything possible to make sure that we incorporate your feedback and that we are able to bring you the best podcast. And today in the studio, we have a brother of mine, that I've known for a long time, but we also then met not so long ago, probably in the past 2 years. And I've been following his work, and I'm sure that may not be everybody, but I think he's someone that people follow and love what he does. He's a content creator. He's a Christian, and that's important because this podcast is also a Christian podcast, and he's also a stand-up comedian, and among a lot of other things that he does. And this man I'm with today needs no introduction. His name is the Slick Pastor, Pastor Nigel Maritim.
Correct.
Welcome, my brother, to the podcast.
Thank you so much, bro. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you, and I'm grateful that you honored my invitation. I think one of the greatest challenges that you start facing, especially when you are starting something, this probably could be our fourth episode.
Right.
And one of the greatest challenges is you wanting people to be on the podcast. You call them, I'm not a very popular person, right? And you call, people and, they turn down the invitation, and you call people and you write emails and people don't respond. But I think it's the challenge that we then have to face every day. But I hope just one day people will be able to relate with this podcast.
Right.
And that's why I value, when I say, brother, can you come? And you were like, right there, I'll be there. And we waited for this time.
Right.
And I'm grateful. So maybe as we start, I want to know what makes you Nigel. What makes you Nigel? In life we have all these dominoes as we, grow up and as we become. What makes you you? What are the ingredients?
It's a very interesting question. I think what makes me me is my faith, my values, and my purpose. I think those are the three key things that make me who I am. They inform the decisions I make. They inform the goals that I set for myself. They guide how I behave, how I think about myself, how I think and react to life, how I think about others. I think my faith, my values, and my purpose. And those are the things that make me.
And this is very important because I believe that when I look at people, it's just like how we look at cakes, and then you realize that most of the ingredients that makes up a cake are the same. But when you look at the icing, then it becomes different. When you look then at the then what is put on the outside. And people don't quite realize that, how their values or then who they spend time with actually then can shape the quality of their lives.
That's true.
And we don't realize that how is your faith contributed to who you are today, because when looking back, when you started, kids, you then were on the scene as the sleep pastor, and I think that's very important. And I'm a creative, and I always think about how can I be a Christian that can also be able to communicate in a different way.
Right.
And I believe that then your skits then, resonated with, the daily life of even Christians, what happens in the Christendom. And how has your Christian life shaped who you are?
Right. I think it's been a major contributor. To who I am and every outcome in my life, because I believe there are some fundamental philosophies that shape the way you approach life. For instance, it's raining today, right?
Yes.
One person who is purely scientific would just say this is a scientific process. Evaporation happened and then condensation. Yes. So now we've got rain.
Yeah.
And then another person who spiritualizes, let's say, everything. There are people who spiritualize everything.
Yes.
They'll say this is God who is blessing us with rain.
And
there's also another side to the spiritual. Someone will say these are the gods that are blessing us with rain. The ancestors are happy with us or whatever.
They are cleansing.
Yeah. So what I'm basically saying is those fundamental beliefs that you have, they act like a pair of glasses that you are wearing. If you wear glasses that are tinted, let's say green, everything that you look at becomes green, because that's the lens you're looking life through. So having that faith, for me, has helped me to, during my difficult moments, to always say things are going to shape up for me one day because God says this. During my incredible times, when things are great, I still remember to say, I believe this is God who's giving me this. So this is why you will find that at every stage, every point, every platform in my life, I always use that opportunity to give glory to God, to tell other people about Jesus, because I'm always conscious of the fact that this is not of my own making, this is not of my own doing. So I'm just trying to really paint the picture that my faith has had a touch in almost every aspect of my life. So it's been quite a key ingredient. And I think, with creative industry, media industry, entertainment industry, there is a lot of dilution. There are a lot of people who I know they are Christians, but they cannot really be loud about their Christianity because sometimes they feel like people will not resonate with me.
And that's actually a thing. Because I think when you look at our communities, how we are shaping our communities, and I think it's worth to talk about, because when you look at how the communities are being built right now, you will see that there are communities that are actually built on hate. For example, you go to X, you find out that there's that pressure to belong. Because every time then you are trying to find your feet, you are trying to find your space. And because you are creative, you are also trying to resonate. And how do you deal with that pressure?
Just being true to yourself. Just being true to yourself. That one of the greatest blessings any person can ever have is just to live your truth. To wake up every day knowing that I am being who I truly am and truly desire to be. The heaviest burden to carry is to live a life that is not yours. To put on a personality that is not yours, to try to fit in, that type of thing. I generally grew up hating, even up until now, I don't like going to parties and stuff. Because as a kid, growing up, I saw that there was a behavior I had to assume when I'm around other people, right? I had to act a certain way, talk a certain way. And I know, this is not me. This is not how my mom raised me. And I just ended up not doing that, because it's such a burden to act a certain way so that people in a certain place can accept you. But truly, this tweet that I've just put, if it's seen elsewhere, people are going to question, to say, are you the one who wrote this? Then you try to explain, no, I was just trying to be relevant for this platform and that. So I think, even in as much as sometimes you may not get the attention that you want, the engagement that you want, but it's a blessing to know that you're being true to yourself at the end of the day. So I think for me, that's just the key ingredient. And
that's important, because when we look at, how the world is revolving, I believe that where most young people are losing it, they are losing it in terms of identity.
That's true.
And we are trying to be our mentors. We are trying to, to be people that we see on Instagram. We are trying to be celebrities that we see, out there. But we don't even understand, and I'm help you repeat the issue of ingredients. We don't even understand the ingredients that makes them. And we are coming from where we are coming from. And sometimes I have said, you know what? We admire people that are doing even impact at a global level. But I might not realize, especially me as a man of God, I might not realize that God might have called me to actually have impact in my community.
That's so profound.
That's no matter how I fly around the world and people see me and doing this, I may be actually doing something that is out of what God has called me to do. I get this illustration of vessels. And when the Bible talks about vessels, that we are different vessels, And I was saying a plastic plate may be doing the work every day because at home there are kids and every time they're bringing out the plastic plate to serve porridge, to serve the afternoon meal, to serve dinner. And then when the
special guest comes,
when the special guest comes, then another plate is being put out just for one moment. It might be just one, it might just be
once a year.
Once a year.
Right.
But if that special plate doesn't realize that it's for a special purpose, it might bring itself down
to the plastic,
to the level of the plastic.
Right, because it wants to be seen every day.
It wants to be seen every day, and then it
deep.
breaks.
That's quite deep.
And we have people that are breaking
That's very profound.
before they start.
That's very profound.
Because they are trying to be someone else.
And yet,
they don't know the ingredient that, made them. And then if you don't know your ingredients, you can't know your purpose. If you don't know your ingredients, you can't know your values. And I've seen people that, say what I post on social media is not my personality.
I'm not my tweets.
I'm not my tweets. Because I just think, I don't know what you feel about this, because I just think then these platforms then are now the platforms that we get to connect with people and that we get to know people. And then people thinking that it doesn't affect.
No, you can't really try to separate those things. Because when you look at it, like when people talk about stuff like the world is now a global village.
Yes.
Right? So that means when we years ago, when it took maybe 5 years before I could finally meet someone.
Yeah.
Now we are living in a time where instantly we can get connected. We don't have to write letters. We don't have to. So these platforms have been created in order to give us an opportunity to know each other, to know who we are.
Yeah.
And there are so many instances where, somebody has gone for an interview and they will be told, so we've checked your social media profiles. You said you don't like white people, you don't like black people.
Yeah.
What were your comments about that? And they were, no, it was just a joke. But those people are saying we're not able to separate. We're not able to separate the two. We believe that what you wrote is really who you are, because there's no need to write what you are not. So I believe that being true to yourselves, integrity means just being one thing with what you say and who you are and how you act. That's integrity. Exactly.
No matter the platform.
Exactly. That's just one thing. That's just one figure. Integrity means being whole, being one. We don't separate this part for that part. So whatever personality we see on YouTube, on Instagram, in person,
and that's what you value.
Exactly.
And that's important, because I run an organization. And I'm involved with a lot of other organizations. And this is just a time, with the shrinking employment opportunities these days, you realize that someone is going to post a job. When you post a job opportunity, you're going to get like 1,000 CVs. And you're just looking for one person.
Right.
And then one of the screenings, like what you say, has become, just background check.
Exactly.
Now you can only check, on social media.
Right.
And then you realize that the values that the organization represents, and then the values that the person is representing. And sometimes it might not be, it's because they are truly
your values, sometimes,
your values, but it's that pressure to actually belong,
right?
Like if the group, the alpha,
right,
group,
so exactly. I feel like it's better if that is truly you.
Yeah.
Then it's okay. That's who you are. That's what you believe.
That's what you believe.
So even if you miss a job opportunity because you said this and that. and we're not going to give you a job, you will feel okay. You'll be like, well, I missed the job opportunity because this is what I truly believe. But I think what hurts is knowing that, no, guys, you don't understand. I'm actually Christian, but that day I was
caught in a moment.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I think we should just be true to ourselves.
Yeah. I love it. But I've seen you, I think, grow. When we follow your work, and I've seen you traveling the world, doing your tour, and I loved it because you go into different countries, America, Europe, and you are doing a tour. What was in your mind when that started? Because one of the things I was talking about you with the guys in the studio here, and I said I loved the transition from just doing these skits and then actually settling yourself then in the Christian space. Because when you look at the tours that you also do with Slim Praise, is that acknowledgement that you are a comedian and you are able to then fit within that Christian space and be able to, resonate and at some point like get things, serious. There's a clip of you that I saw and you were actually preaching and encouraging people to worship, and it was like, I love this transition. But then I also love then the artistic transition from just doing skits and then now settling in stand-up comedy. What is your thinking process around, being able to, continue to fit in within your values, but also being able to transition, with your work to make sure that you continue resonating?
So I think the key thing that's in my mind when I embark on anything, it's this has to be done. That's the first thing that is strong upon my heart, to say this has to be done, and I have to do it.
Yeah,
that's the first step, because you see with everything that you do in life, whatever you then do, whatever project, whatever money you raise, whatever stadiums you fill up and the like. Really, the most important ingredient is what is happening internally, what happens inside you. That's why I like the question, what was in your mind? So my thinking was, this has got to be done. Why does this have to be done? Because, like I said earlier, one of the key ingredients for me is my purpose, right? Yeah. So I do not see myself just as an artist, but I see myself as a minister of God's work. So when I look at it like that, then that gives me more urgency and more drive, because now I have an understanding that I'm serving a higher master than just myself. There are ambitions that we have for ourselves. I want to buy this car. I want to build this house. I want to do A, B, C, and I want to start this business. But when you have a perspective of that story in the Bible where servants were given talents, and this one was given 3, this one was given 5, this one was given 1, and they were given according to their abilities. So what I do is I look at myself and I look at the abilities I've got, and I say, but why did God give me all of this? The Bible also says, to him whom much is given, much is expected. So knowing that God is an expectation of me is what drives me on these projects. So there is the artistic side, there's the business side of it, but on the more spiritual side, this is what drives me. So I believe the spaces I'm entering into, I'm setting my feet in, are just opportunities to express what God has given me. To say, we've reached so many people doing those skits online, and They have done an incredible work in terms of putting the brand out there, putting the message out there, driving a lot of traffic, creating a lot of engagement, creating a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Because you will find in almost all of the cities I've gone to around the world, the people who are coming are people who actually know me from doing those skits.
Yeah.
So, so also for me, one of the drive was I want to now create an opportunity where there is a product that those people who love me and enjoy my work can actually enjoy, like in real time, like live.
Live.
You see, because for instance, in music, you know that if somebody writes a song, records it, and people enjoy it, they're going to have a live show, sing the song together. And that feeling cannot be equated even to 1 million views. It cannot be equated to anything. So I also wanted to have that experience to say, I know people comment, you know, on YouTube, on Facebook, and they say, I laughed out loud. I liked this video. I liked this joke. But now experiencing and hearing them actually laugh, seeing them, you know, with tears in their eyes, with laughter and stuff like that, it's a very special feeling. So that those are some of the motivations that drive me when I embark on these projects. But I still do carry my values and say, it doesn't matter what space I want to get into, I make it abundantly clear, unashamedly so, who I am and who I stand for and who I represent. And I've always told people, I don't do this as a marketing strategy to say, I see there's a Christian market, so I need to be a Christian comedian. So you
to create a space where you bring everyone.
Exactly.
But you're also true to your values.
Exactly.
And I think that also makes, you know, a lot of traction, because I'm sure there are people who are struggling with. I meet people every day, and one of the things is that I try to make sure that I reach out to everyone, and I meet people who are struggling with their faith. Meet people who I've actually worked with people, you know, from scratch that we support and that start growing. And this is from the perspective that we meet as in a church environment. And as they grow, then they like forget where they're coming from, and then they get the pressure to, you know, to live a certain life. And I believe that as we grow, but we continue to reinforce our values, and we continue to, you know, mention, you know, how, you know, it is not by might or by our power or by our knowledge and by our abilities that we are where we are, and we continue to acknowledge God. I think it will help somebody, because they will look at you and they say,
exactly,
what have I achieved now that can make me, you know, forget that here I am is God. You see, after my O levels, I went to South Africa, and I was trying to, you know, make ends meet. And I stayed in South Africa for 9 months in the streets.
Okay.
Never really got a viable job. My first job was giving, you know, those flyers for sangomas, like bring back those lava, and all that things. And I remember I was earning like 30 rand a day, and that would get me just bread. And I was sleeping in the street until I had to hand over myself to the police.
Wow. To
come back, and I had failed my O levels. Like I only had one O level, which was Shona, for obvious reasons. And then I came back, and I was serious with my faith. And then what has happened over the years, I cannot believe it. And when I look at myself, I really look like I think I became smart when I actually started serving God.
Right.
I believe that I every time when I feel like giving up, and then I lay back, everything stops. My work things won't be. By the time that I come back and I say I'm serving God and I'm being true to God, imagine let me say for the past 5 weeks. This is probably the week that I'm fully in Zimbabwe. And I travel the world. And one of the things that I told myself is that no matter where I am, I'm not going to miss a Sunday service here in Harare. So I've had to come in Sunday morning, do church, and fly out
The next morning.
Wow. Or even Sunday evening. And after service, I'm here trying to do midweek services, and then it's then amazing how then I have gotten to realize that without God, I am nothing.
That's true.
Today, I'm leading different organizations here in Zimbabwe, in the region. I sit on boards globally, and I speak on conferences. This is a guy who had 1 O-level. One O-level.
Sleeping in the streets.
Sleeping in the street, came back and tried to, go back to night school while hustling. Then I have my 5 O-levels on 3 certificates. Then started taking myself to college. And you then see then how God becomes a lifter of men.
That's true.
And the Bible says is faithful to those who diligently seek him. So I love it when you continue to reference that one of the greatest ingredients for your life is God, and you cannot separate your success from what He is doing in your life. But there's one thing that I personally struggle with, and that's balance. Balance, when we talk about the pressure of being a man of God and being an entrepreneur and, trying to make it. There's this point in your life that you see that, these are the doors that have opened. And if I don't, enter into these doors right now, I don't know the time that I have. So I need to do everything. But then I lose community because you cannot follow through conversations. Then you can't do well in relationships because you are sometimes just all over the place. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you find yourself in different countries, different time difference, and it has an effect on how you then interact with people. How do you keep up with friends, community, and you are married, so
yes,
lucky you.
So I must say I'm very blessed. Wonderful wife, great child. Well, balance is tricky for everyone, I believe, because I think in trying to seek for balance, what you're usually trying to look for is getting everything at the same time. Right? You are saying today, I want to make sure I've had lunch with my girlfriend. I have done the podcast. I've had an hour to pray. I've gone to the shop. I've done meetings. But you will see that a day only has 24 hours. 6 or 8 of those which you are sleeping. 4 or so of those you are either bathing, eating, moving from one place to the other and stuff like that. So when you realize that in a day, you actually have maybe like 8 hours, you are kinder to yourself. You don't expect the impossible out of yourself. Even when Jesus was on earth in this human body, he could only be in one place at one time. There were moments when you would actually hear the Bible say, I think it's John chapter 3 going to chapter 4, when the Bible talks about how Jesus was tired and he had to sit somewhere by the wall. Of course, he had other plans in mind. There was someone he wanted to meet and he knew she was coming, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it shows you that as a human, there are limitations that you have. So when you accept these limitations, you stop making ridiculous expectations of yourself.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you feel like you're not balanced, you actually are. But it's just that what you're expecting of yourself is impossible.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's important to understand that, there is a time for everything.
Yes.
There is a time and there is a season for everything.
Yeah.
So there are times when you have to sleep maybe 4 hours, right? The whole night.
Yeah.
It's just 4 hours. And then you wake up, you study, you prepare for exams, and you do this, you invest in that, and this and that and that and that. You'll find that as a man of God, there may be a season where you are able to do door-to-door visitations, right? You go and see this family, you see that guy, you go to the hospital, you see that guy. But when the work grows, that window is closed, you are not able to do that. And God is not even expecting you to visit 2,000 people, because if you do that, then you are neglecting everything else.
Yes.
So understanding those seasons helps you. And having the right people around you. If you have people who understand the seasons that you're going through, like you're saying, sometimes you lose community, you lose connections, social connections, because people feel like now you're too busy for them.
Yeah.
But I think one of the greatest gifts I've had with my very close friends is that understanding, that mutual understanding of who I am and who they also are and what they are doing in their lives. Because we don't move in the same direction and at the same pace in life. Yeah. But for as long as the same love, the mutual respect remains, that is what is most important. There was a time when I could sit with my friend for 5 hours a day, just discussing everything from politics to football to love to whatever. And now we only meet maybe once in 5 months. Yeah. But our bond is just still as strong. So sometimes it's really important to understand those things. But in an attempt to attain balance, I think priorities are also important. Yeah. To say everything is important in my life, but they are not equally important. Right? Yeah. I love playing FIFA. I think it's important for me to get that time to play FIFA. But it's not as important as spending time with my wife.
Yes.
So if I have an hour to spare on a day, should I go and continue with my career on FIFA, or should I spend a day with my wife and find out what's going on with her, how she's been, and how, So I think also prioritizing. Then there are things that are non-negotiable in your life, like what you've said. For you, whatever happens, you make sure that you go to church. Yeah. For me, what I usually do is whatever country I go to, whether I'm in the States, I'm in the UK, if it falls on a Sunday, I'm looking for the nearest Bible-believing church. Yeah. And I go and I get that fellowship and I get that. Because it's non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. Even if I'm tired, if I've told myself I read one chapter a day of the Bible, I would rather fall asleep flipping the pages because it's a non-negotiable. So I think those are some of the key components in trying to attain balance in life. You have non-negotiables, set your priorities right, and also having an understanding, system around you. Yeah.
Then I think mental health has become a big issue. I think when we look at developing countries where we are, there are shrinking opportunities, and when you have an edge to make it, then sometimes the challenges that we face as probably as communities or as a country also sometimes bring limitations, and sometimes brings different challenges that we have to face. And when we talk about mental health and we talk about community, but we also talk about the culture, I have observed that as men, we we don't really find time to talk about things. You know, ladies will just like, can we talk? And you find them sitting, and it's nothing. They're just, talking. They're just venting, but then you realize that I've realized that men don't usually meet without a third thing. Like it's drinks, like it's FIFA, like it's fishing, it's just like soccer, and we don't usually then have time to really talk about things. And when you look at even the suicidal rates and the mental health challenges, drug abuse is very high among men. And I believe this is one of the things that then affect us, that we don't have spaces that we can actually have conversations. When you look at, like, probably when we were growing up, there were those recreational spaces that were there, and we could just go and play. And right now you realize that even for someone who doesn't have money, it's difficult to find community, because if I'm going to meet with you, probably it's over lunch. And if I'm the initiator, probably I have to buy lunch. And how do you go about, you talk about your faith, but sometimes then faith comes from conversations.
Because it comes from what you hear.
Yes, it comes from what you hear. And how do you, strike that balance in terms of the need to actually just sit down and talk about what you're going through and how you feel? Because I believe that
I think the first thing is men generally don't like to be vulnerable.
Yeah, because sometimes vulnerability is also mistaken for weakness.
And also because of the role that we assume as leaders and protectors of the family, by nature, you will find that if a man is vulnerable, that's a threat, like, to the family.
Yes.
Yeah, right? If you are afraid of spiders and a spider shows up, if you are alone in that house, you can scream and go on top of the couch.
Yeah.
But if the family is there,
they're expecting
you pretend like you are not worried about spiders.
Yeah.
You act like you have dealt with spiders all your life. Because the moment I scream, the wife is going to faint. The child is going to stroke. So as the man, I must always show strength. Right? So as a result, men are just generally not willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But if from time to time you're not able to be vulnerable and to let your guard down, you cannot be helped.
You cannot be helped.
So one of the things I've taught myself, because I've learned over time, most of the things I've gone through, thousands of other people have gone through, men and women have gone through.
Yeah.
But these were things that at some point I would be ashamed to talk about.
Yeah.
The shame comes from the fact that you feel like you are the only one who's going through these things.
And sometimes it's because you feel like, as a leader and now as an influential person in the society, you have to be strong, you have to go on. And when you fail at something, then you feel like it's failure on the trust.
Exactly. I'm betraying the confidence that people have in me. And people think I'm perfect, I get things right. Yeah. But when you accept that, despite the fact that you may be a global preacher, you may be an influential figure, you may be a millionaire, you may be this and that, you are a human being. And so that's why you will find that sometimes when stories come out, when people share their stories, a lot of people connect with them because you finally embraced or accepted the fact that you are human just like all of us. If you're a celebrity, a politician, an athlete, a sports person, And you always act like, you've got everything worked out. Like, I wake up every day at 5, I do 100 push-ups, and then I read a book, and then at 6, I leave the house, I pray, I meditate, and then I close my deals. Every day I'm making $5,000, right? A lot of people feel disconnected from it because they feel like, wow, this guy is Superman, right? But the moment you're vulnerable, the moment you, from time to time, you are, you know what, guys, I made this investment. I thought this was the right investment, but I was wrong. I've lost all of my money and I don't know what to do. Then you find amongst your circle of friends, somebody saying, I encountered this situation 2 years ago. This is what I ended up doing.
So you find out that there's someone who even lost more.
Exactly. You are stressed about, you're stressed about, I lost 5,000. Somebody is saying, I lost my house at one point, but I managed to gain so many other houses. So it just gives you hope when I believe that the key thing is to be, allow yourself to be vulnerable at times. Allow yourself, it's better for you to think that maybe people are laughing behind my back but still get the help you need than for you to pretend and we celebrate you while you're dying inside.
Yeah. and it's difficult, and I wish that our generation would then understand that we cannot do everything by ourselves, and we cannot achieve everything that we even really want to achieve. Sometimes, even failure, when something looks like it has failed, I think the best feeling is I've tried. I fail so many times because I try so many times. And then the few times I win, then looks like I'm doing very great.
Right, and you're winning all the time.
Yeah, but then it's because I wake up every day to think, I think I should try this. And sometimes I feel like when there's this time when you get to community, people ask you, who are you? Or what do you do?
Right.
And sometimes like, which one?
What do I tell you? Right here at this point.
Because you've just been trying everything all over, and then some things work and some things don't work, and some things you still want to try. There's probably one of the last things that we want to talk about. How do you go through? I believe a blessing brings, I don't want to call it a curse, but there's the limitation that comes with the blessing.
Yeah.
So for example, then I have friends, I have community, I have people that I work with. But sometimes they plan to do some things and then they are like, but we can't involve you. Because we're going to a restaurant which is like a club. So we can't involve you. And then, you feel like if I'm going to, people have to be comfortable with me, then they are supposed to act in a certain way. I right now, you try to even go to restaurants, probably with your work colleagues, but then they have to, behave in a certain way.
Right.
They are not supposed to be like all over.
Right.
And you don't know what angle. I've had pictures being taken of me. Like, how people then look at angles that, can tell, a different story. So you realize that becomes a limitation that comes either with your calling or with the blessing or what you are pursuing. Can you just like have a day that you just want to be like quiet, but you also want to be in town? But everyone else is like, Nigel, I'm Dara. And that then brings, a lot of expectations to you. And you then have to make sure that you probably, serve whoever then comes to you because there's that expectation. How do you go about then becoming popular and being yourself?
I think for me the key primary thing was just acceptance.
Yeah.
Accepting that
this is
the life that I've chosen.
Yeah.
And with everything, you don't like all the parts of it.
Yeah.
You see? But when you look at the bigger picture, you can say, guys, I hate the fact that when I'm just trying to go about my business, someone is coming and talking to me, or disturbing me or whatnot. But then there's also an approach of looking at it like, I'm very privileged.
I'm very
privileged. These people are
privileged.
coming and saying hi to me. If these people are coming and saying hi to me, they want to take pictures, it means I'm doing something meaningful in their lives. So in as much as it might be draining or straining as a human being, right? Because you've got a physical body just like everybody else. So after maybe taking 20 pictures in a space of an hour, you are tired.
You're tired.
But I think internally, when you reflect on that and you say, but why do they want to take pictures of me? It means I mean something to them. So when you keep looking at the rose, you overlook the thorns. You are like, well, you know what? Sometimes we water the thorns because we love the rose.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are aspects of our lives that we have to just accept that we may not have signed up for, but they just come as a package. And so just accepting that and not fighting it. To say, I hope today in town no one will say, why? How is that going to happen?
How impossible.
It's impossible. So if you want your quiet time, even Jesus, when he wanted to be alone, he would go to the mountain because he knew that if I'm walking in the city, people are going to come because that's what it is. So acceptance and just being grateful for that. I always tell people that there are certain problems that you can only have if you are blessed.
Yeah.
You will not have those problems if you're not blessed. If you have pain in your body right now, if you're feeling pain, you are feeling that problem because you are blessed with life.
Yeah.
If you are dead, you're not going to be feeling that pain. You can. If you are saying, I've got a naughty child every day, I'm called to the school principal's office because he's causing mayhem at school. Yeah. It means you are blessed with the fruit of the womb. You are blessed with a child. Someone who is praying. Someone who is saying, give me even a child who's battling with drugs, but I can call mine.
I will give back to you.
Exactly. Hey, yes. She said, just give me and I'll give you. I just want to have that experience.
For me, it's no longer. I'll give back to you.
So for every problem, realize that for a lot of times, you're having that problem because you're blessed.
You're blessed.
And you go through life with so much peace.
And you realize that if you're not gifted, you're not even going to have haters.
That's true.
So
that's true.
The more haters that you have is a reflection of how gifted you are.
Exactly.
I think people don't even realize that some of these things we did not pray for them. God just gave us, and true. We started flowing, in it. But tell me, you studied as an engineer.
Yes.
You studied yes. Okay, that's right. And what do you feel? There are people then who would think that after I studied this and life takes me this direction, probably I'm getting lost because I've had like 4 or 5 years of studying something that I end up not really doing.
Right. So for me, I've never felt lost even one day. I actually felt lost when I was in class studying engineering. At that point, I did feel lost. But when I chose this path, I found myself. I found meaning in my life. I found a sense of purpose. So now when I reflect to your question that says, I feel like, because people feel like, so you wasted your time. So are you using the degree? So you are never going to use the degree. I tell them, I use this degree every day. Because the fundamental thing about, for instance, my field of engineering, it's problem solving.
This problem
And
solving.
you can't tell me that all these years I've not been solving
Solving
problems.
problems.
I've been solving problems
Every
daily.
day.
And one of the things that we were trained during that program was also handling pressure, planning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So even if you look at my work,
Yeah.
you know, when people say, nah, education,
Yeah.
if you look at my work, something will tell you that there is something
There's
about
something
this guy.
that is about this
Yeah,
guy.
he must have
Yeah.
gone through 4 years of tertiary education.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's something about this guy. He knows how to handle a project.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel so blessed. I feel so grateful that I had to do that program to sharpen my mind, to develop my intellectual skills, and to just give me the confidence that whatever task or problems or assignment is set before me, I can actually achieve it.
And because people always ask me, currently I'm doing my master's in business administration,
Right.
and I'm dabbling with my master's in public health as well, which is like a huge task that I've always felt like when I started getting myself back to school, I was like, you know what, I need to do school. And education then is the way of bringing order into your life. Even your decision-making skills, your weighing of things. In history, they said, you remember that this happened to a greater extent, this happened
To a lesser extent.
the thought process that when you
Exactly.
even want to make a decision, you're going to
What
do a
is the
SWOT
impact?
analysis. What is the impact of my decision? What is my strength? What is
Weakness,
my weakness? What are the
opportunities and
opportunities and
threats.
what are the threats?
Take-
And then you weigh your decision not even in your field of study, but in the things that you do with your life every day. So we have people that are inspired by you who are watching this podcast right now. What do you want to tell them?
Right. No, I think to everybody who is inspired by me, you know, in any way, shape, or form, I would like to encourage that person to just be true to yourself. Be your genuine, authentic self, because when God made you, He knew that you were going to make a difference. When I always say, when God wanted John, He made John. And when the time came that He needed you in this earth, He made you. So don't waste all of your time trying to become like another person. So it's good to be inspired. Inspiration just means you are getting the relevant enlightenment and encouragement. But it should be to pursue your own destiny, your own dreams, your own goals, so that we also get to benefit and to be blessed by you. So just be authentic to yourself and continue to trust God.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, my brother, for coming to our
Pleasure is
podcast. We are not out of conversations, but we are definitely out of time.
That's
And thank you, everybody, for joining. This is the Love Life and God podcast. I want you to subscribe to our channel so that you keep in touch with what is happening. Go and hit that subscription and notification button. Right now, we are committed to continue having conversations with different people that can make a difference in your life. But what we have heard in this podcast with Nigel, the sleep pastor, I think we talked more about our faith, which makes us who we are, and that makes our values, and that temptation that is always there to fit in, that can go against what the ingredients that have made us. But most importantly, in closing, we also talked about the need to be true to ourselves, the need to be authentic, and the need to know who we are and know our value, and keep on with that without the pressure of wanting to be somebody else or to belong. And that is an important ingredient for our lives. Anyway, thank you for watching this particular episode. Hope to see you in the next episode. This has been the Love, Life, and God podcast. See you next time. See you next time. See you next time. See you next time.